Welcome back, everybody, to another weekend reaction podcast for the Premier League. I'm your host, Gary, joined as always by Alex.
Welcome, everyone. I hope you're having a better Monday than what we're currently having.
Welcome indeed, welcome indeed. Disclaimer, ladies and gentlemen, West Ham versus Leicester City are playing live as we speak. I think West Ham are winning currently.
1-0,
But
you are correct. You are correct.
Yeah, but we are reacting to this weekend's game. We can't react to West Ham versus Leicester City until the game's over. Try to keep the traditions by recording on a Monday. If you're new here, subscribe, give us a like. It'll be super, super helpful to us. What's coming up on today's episode? We are talking about the biggest games this weekend. Arsenal versus Chelsea. Mikel Arteta on the hot seat. We've got Manchester City versus Norwich and title credential talk. We've also got biggest winners and losers of the weekend as usual, and a new game called 2xG or not to XG. And finally, we've got the best goal of the week. Now, first team's up, and that's got to be the Super Sunday game, Arsenal versus Chelsea. I think there's plenty to talk about from an Arsenal perspective, but let's quickly focus on Chelsea before I start crying live on camera. We were chatting in the WhatsApp group, Alex, with our resident Chelsea fan, Sam, and he just said that Lukaku is the final piece of the puzzle for them, and I find that so true. Watching throughout that game, his ability to drive Chelsea forward and back down defenders and go in behind. It's just given Chelsea that new dimension. What did you think of Lukaku's debut against Arsenal?
I think I'll take a leaf out of his own book because an interviewer actually asked him what he thought of his debut. And he said dominant. And I think that is probably the word I would use. And you touched on it there, the kind of the strengths that he brings to that Chelsea side, and you're absolutely right. It's his build-up play, both with his feet, but also his strength to be able to hold off defenders aerially. I think I got that right. In the air, he was always battling the Arsenal defenders. I think he ended up winning 57% of his aerial duels. And obviously he has pace. People sometimes forget that he's actually very quick as well. So if he's him trying to hold up the ball isn't working, he can also run in behind. So they have very much got a complete striker now. And I think a big helping hand for that. And let me just say, I think a lot of people, when they think about Lukaku, they think about that Lukaku at Manchester United, and for some reason he's not very well remembered by kind of footballing fans at his time as Manchester United, but he's still got goals there. And then he went to Italy and he got trained by Conte, and Conte really worked with him and really works with his back to goal. So what they've got now, I think they've got this almost complete striker who he's still got those natural goal scoring abilities that he had throughout his whole career, but now Conte's added a few more elements to him, and he seems like a really dangerous player.
Yeah, he was quite scary. Lukaku probably should have scored a few more goals if it wasn't for Bernd Leno and his saves. But yeah, kind of watching Chelsea on Sunday compared to how Arsenal played them in the past and how other teams have tried to contain Chelsea. They've had previously, when Chelsea were the better team, obviously last season, they were able to get at Chelsea by sort of denying them space from all their creative midfielders. They had Timo Werner leading the line last season. We was trying to make those darting runs into the channel and try and get Chelsea up that way, but it wasn't as effective. Now you got Lukaku just bearing down on defenders, backing them down. Like, opposition defenders have to focus on him. Like, if not one player, maybe two. So what I saw against Arsenal was just that once that happens, just the focus is all on him, and it just allows the other Chelsea players like the Pulisic's, the Kai Havertz's, and
The
Ziyech's
Mounts, the Werners, the Ziyech's,
to really get in and play off of Lukaku and make those darting runs in behind. Like, it just opens it up. It's kind of scary.
You know what the scary thing about that more than anything is all those players you just mentioned who will probably be playing with Lukaku, they're all intelligent players, they're all very good movers, and they're going to create so much space for him, and he's also going to conversely create space for them. And I tell you what, if you're not supporting and if you're supporting any other team other than Chelsea this season, I would be absolutely petrified of Lukaku and co turning up at your ground.
Yeah, that kind of brings me on to my next point. 2 wins now, 2 convincing wins. Everyone had City as title favourites at the beginning of this season. They've got Liverpool on the horizon. If they make that a 3rd win, they seem refreshed. They seem like they've got their main striker in Lukaku. That's probably brought them to another level. Manchester City don't have their main man yet in Harry Kane. They're really trying to work on that deal. Do you think Chelsea might have stolen the march in terms of title favourites for this season?
For me, no, it's too early. If Chelsea beat Liverpool 5-0, or if they lose to Liverpool 5-0, my opinion isn't going to change. And the reason why, I feel like with 3 weeks in, the season's too early, and I feel like it's only when we get in and around winter that we actually get an idea of like kind of how the Premier League might just finish. So for me, no, it doesn't change. City are still the favourites for me, but what Chelsea are doing is they're kind of cementing they're the favourites to be the next favourites come winter.
Favourites to become the next favourites. I like it. I like it. On to Arsenal. Jeez, Arsenal. The way I see it, just a combination of bad defending, bad tactics, bad decisions, a bit of bad luck, must be said. Another limp performance against Chelsea after the Brentford performance. Arsenal fans booing their own team. Break it down, Alex. I need someone who isn't an Arsenal fan because I feel if it's just me talking, it'll be 10 minutes straight of absolute disasterbation. I think.
Disasterbation. Don't look that one up in the dictionary, kids. Probably has a much worse meaning than what you realise. Firstly, bad luck. Are you referring to the penalty incident, by the way, with Saka?
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to change. It wasn't really going to change the result. I feel against Chelsea. I think Chelsea were going to win that game anyway, but would have given them a lifeline. I think every team would have been really upset if that penalty wasn't given against them because it's just a foul. It's just that's it. I mean, the referees just overlooked it.
I agree that every team would probably be disappointed. So it's one of them where I'm not saying you're wrong to be disappointed because every team would. But I actually think that is a perfect example of how the physicality rules have changed in the Premier League. What we've seen in the first 2 game weeks are decisions like that, like kind of all over the pitch, not being given. It's like it's the new rules they try to implement, and I do get where you're coming from because I think it is frustrating as a fan. Where last season, that would have been a pen, and now this season they've changed the rules, and it's like kind of it's very difficult where they kind of constantly get it wrong, but they're trying to change it for the better. So let's just hope that they remain consistent and that we kind of keep the free-flying football that they've currently tried to implement. But back to your question, breaking down Arsenal and like kind of what happened. Do you know who I feel most sorry for?
Mikel Arteta.
No. It's Tierney.
Edu.
And Edu. It's actually the owners. I like the owners a lot. I think Kroenke's a stand-up guy. And every single Arsenal fan is now on sub. No, it's Kieran Tierney. And I'll tell you why. He got the brunt of the blame for Arsenal's performance, like kind of in the immediate reaction. And that's kind of a standard situation because I think as a fan, when you watch a game, the first thing you point at are like kind of the obvious mistakes. And it's only when you kind of get a chance to watch it again that you can actually see maybe it wasn't his fault. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Kieran Tierney, when you first watched it and you watched that first half, he was just constantly making what seemed like the wrong decisions. He was coming inside and he was staying really close to the centre-backs, giving Reece James all kinds of space. And they did that twice and they got punished twice. You would have thought that maybe after the first time they would have learnt it. And it looks like Tierney is absolutely kind of having a mare. I don't think Tierney's to blame.
No, I don't think he's to blame either. He's got a lot of stick, but I don't think he's to blame either.
No, I don't. I think it's misdirected. I think it's actually Arteta, and I tell you why. I feel like Arteta has tried to do two things, but in doing that, he's actually ended up like kind of doing nothing. So I think what he's tried to do is he's tried to send his more offensive players and some of his midfielders up high to try and press, and then at the same time, I think he's told Tierney to like kind of stay quite tight with the centre backs to try and deal with Lukaku. And what that's happened is it's basically left Reece James to be able to bomb forward. Saka is trying to mark the more defensive players of Chelsea. So he's up next to like kind of Aspilicueta and Kovacic. He's marking them and coming central, which means Tierney every time is left with a decision. Does he stay close to the centre backs and try to help deal with Lukaku, or does he go over and deal with Reece James? And it's a situation that he should not have been put in. Saka should have been told to track back, follow Reece James, and not give him that space. But it just didn't happen. And I think you could tell that that was the mistake that Arteta made, because in the second half, that's exactly what he did. No longer was Saka coming inside and trying to press Chelsea's midfield. He was then trying to deal with Reece James. And if you look, Reece James was certainly... he was less impactful in the second half than he was the first.
Yeah, no, man. If I was left back for Arsenal that day, and I'm seeing Lukaku absolutely ram down Pablo Mari, I'm gonna have to stay close just in case they get through the center of the goal, because that's you have to defend the center of the goal straight from the outset. At the same time, yeah, I would blame Mikel Arteta. I just think, yeah, he got out tacticked as that were, or outclassed tactically. And he didn't adapt to the tactics that he should have soon enough. And 2-0, it was over essentially really quickly. And Saka, he's probably a lot of criticism goes to Saka as well. But he, like you said, he probably was under tactical command to press upfield a little bit instead of tracking back Reece James, but they switched that over.
The thing is, if it's say an Aubameyang or someone along those lines where he's got a bit of a rep for being like kind of a little bit lazy, Saka doesn't have that reputation.
No.
He's an absolute worker. So that's why I tend to side with I don't believe. And Saka was pressing, kind of very high up. He wasn't like kind of just like walking about. He was trying to do that. Where do you think Arsenal came undone offensively?
Really frustrating. I mean, I will caveat the fact that, okay, you don't have Lacazette. You only have Aubameyang, who came on as a substitute. You really need those players if you're playing against Chelsea. You don't have Ødegaard, who's a player in the squad that's unique in terms of his ability to find the final ball. Saka is one that doesn't seem to be up to his level, and you don't have Thomas Partey in there. So there are reasons why I still think Arsenal probably would have lost that even if those players were there. But you lose a lot of that experience and quality.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think Ødegaard for me was probably one of the biggest misses, because he does have that ability to not only find that final pass, but he's also to kind of carry the team with like kind of very good passing and very good dribbling.
And he's also very good at pressing as well. So, system-wise, at the beginning of Arteta's reign, we pressed the teams a lot, but we don't do a lot of pressing now. So now it's based upon all the build-up play. And right now I have to blame Mikel Arteta and his system. It seems too rigid. It seems like all the teams have kind of figured out where to deny Arsenal space, and the only space available is basically knocking it to the left-hand side where Kieran Tierney is to make crosses. So it's really unimaginable, pretty torrid to watch, and I don't see a way out currently with this system.
So where does that leave you with Arteta?
I found I liked a very, very funny tweet which made me laugh and cry at the same time. The tweet was by AFC Sam. Arteta has the ego of Mourinho, the play style of Allardyce, and the managerial ability of Tim Sherwood, which I thought was far too extreme. Far too extreme, but I understand the pockets of frustration on each of those.
And you paid 2 million for him.
Yes, yeah, I know. It's just
Can I, from the outside, for me personally, I've seen like kind of Arteta's potential. Like I've seen it kind of when it's going good. I do question whether or not Arsenal's the right club for him. Do you know what I mean? He might be a Pep sort of manager where if he kind of constantly has money and he's constantly at clubs that kind of do stuff, he might be one of those managers. But maybe Arsenal was not the right step for him. But I think as far as like kind of how close he is to the sack, me, I wouldn't sack him yet. And I'll tell you why. Is you've backed this guy, right? In June, you would have made the decision where we're going to give him another preseason, we're going to give him another transfer window, and there's no point kind of doing all of that just to right towards the transfer window ends, then getting rid of him. You may as well give him a few more months, see what he can do, and then bring in your new guy in just in time for the winter transfer window.
He needs to win against West Brom in the League Cup, otherwise, bloody hell, he's probably not gonna win against Man City, and if he doesn't win against Norwich after that, I don't know. Arsene Wenger might not have even survived that terrible start, given how powerful he was. So I really think Arteta, he could be the first manager to get sacked, which is kind of crazy. But I don't know. The owners of the club, managing directors, whatever, head of football, they're also clueless that they'll probably keep Arteta on. But yeah, he's definitely in the hot seat.
Yeah, I do agree. For me, I tell you what. For me, October earliest. If he loses every game, all the games you just said, it'd still be October earliest.
Right. On to the next game. We've got Manchester City versus Norwich. Man City, a really dominant win by Manchester City. We all know the quality that they have. Games like this are going to happen. It was very important to win after their loss to Tottenham, to come, reaffirm their quality, especially in front of their fans. Jack Grealish got his goal, a funny goal off his knee. But what we saw was Gabriel Jesus, who played on the right wing and not as centre. Like the Harry Kane comes in, or is it just rolling the red carpet for Harry Kane?
I tell you what, Gary, I'll be honest with you. For the past kind of 5 seconds there, it went a bit funny. I was this close to getting the old, the BBC beep with kind of the rainbow colours, where it's we are having technical difficulties. Anyone watching would have seen the panic in my eyes. So could you just very quickly just re-ask whatever you were talking about, Jesus? Just ask what you was asking very quickly, please.
Jesus, does he not? Is it not harsh on him to at least get the audition of playing centre forward instead before a potential Harry Kane deal comes through?
Yeah, I think it is quite harsh. I'll tell you why. I think firstly, he's got. So this is the thing that kind of City fans kind of constantly mention when it comes in, but he has actually got a very good goals to games ratio, and he is a good footballer, and he's proved that against Norwich. No, he didn't get any of the goals, but he played very well, and he got 2 assists. And as you say, he didn't play in a centre forward position, but there's definitely a player there who can contribute to a team like Manchester City week in, week out. So I do think it's unfair that. I wouldn't say kind of an audition, because I think he's had his audition. He's proved that I feel like he's proved at the very minimum he's deserved half a season to show what he can do as a centre forward. Now, I do think it's unfair on him. Do I blame City for trying to get kind of Harry Kane? Not particularly. No, he's one of the best players in the world, and whichever way kind of you spin it, he's going to improve their team. But I do think it's quite harsh on Jesus. And do you know what? It's funny you mention that, because he's not the only player who played really, really well, who's also kind of, there's rumours that he's kind of not too happy and wants more game time. And that's in Laporte. He had a very good. I think he misplaced 2 passes, and they were both long balls as well. He had another very, very good game. So kind of an audition game for Manchester City.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true as well. But back onto Jesus, I think Pep Guardiola, he explained it where he just thought that Ferran Torres' movements towards the goal, towards the center, are just that bit better than Jesus. Because Jesus likes darting around and opening his body up to goal. And he had a very good game, to be fair, with Kyle Walker. That connection seemed like at 100%. Those balls in behind. So I think with Pep Guardiola, you're never gonna quite question his thinking when he tinkers around with his team, except for when you play Kevin De Bruyne centre forward in the Champions League final. But other than that, you might have to accept what Pep Guardiola says goes. Norwich.
Mm.
It's a pretty sad game for Norwich, I must say. I know it's against a Man City, who are champions of England. Quality-wise, quite out of their depth. Really couldn't organize that back line in terms of the diagonal runs that City were playing. And what really upset me was like no real pressure on the City passes. They popped it around, bang, 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 and then suddenly, with no pressure, they have all the time in the world to pick out that final pass. Do you think Norwich could have done anything to have stopped Man City in that game? Because it kind of felt like an exhibition game.
You know what? You know where my mind went. So I'm going to give you the short answer first, which is no. I think as soon as that was it in the 7th minute, like kind of you had that ball pinball about, and then it finally come off forward to that goal. I think they knew then it's not going to be their day. I tell you what, there's one thing Norwich could have done, and let me take you back. I think it was either a year or two when Norwich were last in the Premier League. Manchester City were on I think it was an 18-match unbeaten run. And Norwich were next up, and everyone thought that Manchester City were just going to like kind of smash Norwich, and that didn't happen. Norwich beat them 3-2, and in both games since then, Manchester City have welcomed them to the Etihad, and they've been beaten 5-0 both times. So the trick is to firstly don't beat them when they're on unbeaten run. You don't want that. You don't want that mess, right? You don't want that fire. You don't want that beef. Right? Just leave them alone. That's the first step. And do you know the question I keep asking myself? Would it have been different if Buendia, the player they sold to Aston Villa, very creative player, you mentioned them not having a final pass. He does have that ability. Would it have been any different if he was there? And I was going kind of to and fro about this, but I still think they just weren't able to get out. And in the end, what was it? One shot they had, and that was off target. It was just Man City were too dominant. There was nothing they could have done. I don't think it was just one of those games. They need to take it and just move on. Forget it happened.
Yeah, that would be highly advisable right now. I mean, look, Norwich, they have a budget. They have a method of running themselves. They're constantly overachieving by, getting back into the Premier League based on their budget. But without any further serious investment, I feel like they're going to come up and just go straight back down again. Do you think for Norwich fans that will sort of wear thin on them, like after a while? Like, they're happy to have done well to get back up to the Premier League, but only to basically come up here and get beat up and go straight back down.
I don't think so, because I think I see something the other day where I think Norwich's owners are only worth like 30 million. And when you consider that Manchester City have offered Tottenham like kind of 4 times the amount that Norwich's owners like kind of are worth, you can see the difference. Man City's owners are worth close to $1 billion, and I think from a fan's perspective, and Norwich City fans, do correct me if I'm wrong, but what they just want everyone to put in their absolute all. And that includes the owners, that includes the players, and that includes the managers. And if the absolute all does just mean that Norwich are going to be a yo-yo club that are kind of too good for the Championship but not good enough for the Premier League, I think they would be they'd be happy with that. But I think it always comes down to putting in your all. I think that's why you see kind of West Ham like kind of fans, they're always like kind of not happy with their owners. And it's not because it's not because of like kind of where they're finishing. I don't think they care where they finish. They still moan about them now, even though they finished like kind of really high up. It's because they feel they're not trying their hardest to get the best for West Ham. And I feel like Norwich, I think a lot of fans have the same mentality.
Fair enough. Just posing the question out there. we've gone to our next segment, which we're really starting to enjoy here. It is the biggest winners and losers
Whoa,
of the weekend.
whoa.
Whoa,
We're not gonna do my game first.
your game? No. We're coming. That's coming That's coming after.
Oh, go on then. You carry on.
Biggest winner and loser. Who have you got? Shall we do loser first?
Yeah, let's do losers first. So my runner-up is, I don't know if this is true, and I'd like Arsenal and Chelsea fans, just let me know, did you hear it? But if Chelsea fans did boo Saka, I don't know if it, like, I heard booing, but the thing is, it's so difficult when there's like kind of a football match going on, unless it's like kind of the whole stadium on one player, and when that is happening. There was a few people saying that a few Chelsea fans booed Saka, so I'd be interested to hear other people's opinions. But if that was categorical, I would probably go with that. But as we don't know 100%, we'll leave that alone. My biggest losers of this weekend are Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Jurgen Klopp.
Okay, well, I wasn't expecting that.
No, I'll tell you why. Because what the Premier League officials have done, right? They've tried to allow the game to flow a bit more, and that means like kind of there's a bit more physicality, and that is really, really good for the game. And I think the important thing is that proper fouls that are like kind of dangerous tackles, they still get punished. It's not as if they're letting people go in like kind of 2-footed, like kind of Vinnie Jones used to. It just means like kind of shoulder to shoulder, come-ins, togethers, stuff that isn't going to cause that many injuries, if any injuries. They're allowing them just to carry on. And the thing is, they just weren't happy because a few of their players, they go down easy, so they moaned about it. The example and that's not a dig at Manchester United or Liverpool. I'll be honest, every single Premier League team has divers in their team. Like, no one's innocent of it. But they were affected by that. For Manchester United, Jack Stevens, he comes in aggressively. He puts his foot over the ball. He wins the ball. Fernandes goes over easy, and Solskjaer gets his knickers in a twist. It's, is it physical? Yes. Is it a foul? No, it's not. Fernandes went over too easy. But then he comes out and he's like, oh, we've gone from one extreme to the other, and we don't want it to be like rugby. It's like, you know what? We finally got a bit more of a free-flowing game where it isn't stopping every 5 minutes because a player had a bit of wind blow on him that he weren't expecting. And they're moaning about it. They've gone the other end. And Klopp doesn't escape it either because he compared it to wrestling. And it's like, it's not. It's just that little bit of physicality. And from what I can see, anytime there's an actual kind of dangerous tackle, it's punished. It's properly punished. And you know what? There is a little bit of kind of a grey area, like kind of with like kind of the slightly more like kind of physical tackles, and like should that maybe be a yellow card? We're not going to escape that. There is going to be inconsistency with that. But the important thing is the lesser kind of dangerous tackles aren't punished, and like kind of the physical stuff and the barging and like kind of the shoulder to shoulders aren't punished, and the reckless tackles are. And I think that's good for the game. And Klopp and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer don't need to moan every time their players go over.
Wow, that's a very passionate rant.
I was not expecting that. I was not. I apologise. Sorry, go on. Yeah, what was your?
You might need an iced tea to calm down somewhere over there. I mean, I guess I see your point of view. That challenge on Bruno Fernandes, albeit technically a foul.
No, but it's not. No, it's not technically a foul. That's my point. The rules have changed. If Fernandes doesn't want to lose the ball there, he has to be strong and put himself between the body. He has to be strong and put himself between the player and the ball, and not go over, at the slightest bit of contact.
Yeah. No, I mean, I really agree with that in terms of Bruno. He gets away with a lot of, very, 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 very soft fouls, and he finally got one on the other side of the decision.
I should probably. This is not me like kind of trying to assassinate Bruno Fernandes, right? Because I think, as I say, like every team's got them. No team can really cast any stones because they've got plenty of divers in their own team. It's not that. It's the point is that we're finally kind of getting a bit more of a free flowing game, and you're moaning about it because something didn't go your way, and it's like, fuck off. It's working. Like, it's much better, right? If you don't like it, just don't like have a chat with like kind of some of the officials, but don't come out straight away and try and get it back to where we was like they was giving free kicks like because a player like trod on someone's toe or something. That probably should be a foul, actually. I don't know. Because he trod on his lace.
Yeah, well, okay. I won't say any more. I think you need to meditate before we continue with the rest of this segment. Maybe
Sorry.
other losers of the week. Probably Norwich is one that's up there. You got Newcastle have lost both their games as well. Mikel Arteta really is up there as well because he's really coming under a lot of pressure. Norwich are 20th in the Premier League, but that's not unfathomable. Arsenal are 19th, conceded 4 goals, could have been more. Spent over 100 million, so the pressure is on. But I think I would award loser of week to the Chelsea fans booing Saka because apparently, well, a lot of the tweets were saying that why on earth are the Chelsea fans booing at Bukayo Saka whilst the game was going on? Racism, the spotlight on fans being racist. That light can be shone really brightly at you, and why on earth are you doing this? Chelsea fans, not saying all Chelsea fans do have history in terms of like racism and whatnot. So yeah, they get a massive L for me. Biggest winner of the week. Who have you got?
So I've got a few my third place is I think Tuchel. I think sometimes we get a football match where it's really like kind of you get one manager versus another manager and like kind of the tactics they employ and like the tweaks they make. And I feel like the Arsenal Chelsea game was very much Tuchel versus Arteta, and I think Arteta got picked apart by Tuchel. So I think for him, I think that was a very big win for him. Next is the Wolves fans. Because when Harry Kane come on, there was like kind of a lot of to and fro between the Tottenham and the Wolves fans, but it's just all like kind of all good humour and just like kind of really funny chants. So Tottenham started off singing Harry Kane is one of our own, trying to like kind of back their boy. Wolves then come back with Harry Kane, he wants to fuck off. One greedy bastard. Harry Kane, he's won you.
Can
you
fuck sing
all.
this? Can you chant it? Because
Absolutely
I feel like
not.
losing.
No,
You're losing its fervor with by saying it.
no. My favourite Wolves chant was "Here be a mank in the morning," and then Spurs retorted with "Harry Kane, he's worth more than Wolves." But it was just like kind of I feel like Wolves won that kind of like fan exchange, but I just thought it was really like kind of good and it's like something that we obviously haven't like had in quite a while, just with fans not being in stadiums. But they were my second place. But you know, my first place goes to Shane Duffy.
Oh right, okay.
Okay, you know what I'm like. I'm a romantic. Shane Duffy. So this time last year, Brighton didn't want him. I think they signed Adam Webster. They signed out Adam Webster and he fell down the pecking order. He was no longer wanted by Brighton. Brighton couldn't sell him, so they did the next best thing. They loaned him out to Celtic. He started work at Celtic, but if you did look at the results up north at any point, Celtic did not have a good season, and Duffy was part of that. Eventually, he got injured and he was sent back to Brighton early. I would say that's probably maybe one of the worst years he's probably had, like kind of in his career. You know, it was just a god awful career. But he played Brighton's first game. And he played a lot of Brighton's pre-season as well. But he played their first game. He played very well. And he played in the game at the weekend and he scored. And he played very well again. And I just think it's a bit of a comeback story. And, you know, I'm a sucker for that sort of shit. So, Shane Duffy, you get the...
Swearing already. Yeah, I mean, for me, Brighton as a whole, I think I feel like they're winners of the week.
Is that your winners of the week, Brighton?
Yeah. 2 wins at the start of the season. I know it's Burnley and Watford, but you know they played, but they're very winnable games, of course. But if you remember the start of the previous campaign, they lost 3 of their first 4 games, and from then on it was an absolute slog. They've convinced Basuma to stay, and sort of made it sort of his team at the moment. And they sold Ben White to Arsenal. They got another midfielder whose name I can't pronounce to save my life.
Well, if you can't pronounce it, I'm not even going to attempt it.
Enoch Mwepu, right? From RB Salzburg for about, I don't know, 20 million pounds maybe. So on paper, you don't think they've really improved, but 2 wins on the bounce, you know, hopefully they'll have a very positive season. They look like they're playing like the good football that they were playing last season, but now they're being a bit more effective. So for me, it is Brighton for
Would you
this
look at we
winners of the
we?
weekend.
I was going to say, would you look at that? We agree. I picked Shane Duffy. You picked Brighton. That is a rare moment in which we agree.
On to the next segment, and it is a surprise for me. Don't know what this game really is. It's Alex's idea. It is called 2xG or not to xG. So, do you want to explain how this game is going to work?
Yes, obviously, if you're watching this video and you've managed to get this far, firstly, congratulations and thank you. But it's a really simple game. I'm going to name a team, and for the first team, you can guess what their XG was. But basically, I'm going to tell you what the next team is, and you have to guess whether their XG was higher or lower.
Right.
So, for an example, who won the first? Who was one of the biggest winners of the first game week? Liverpool. Like if I said Liverpool, and then I said Norwich for the last game week, you would go lower. And
how many lives do I get?
You get points, and if you get less than 2 points, you are deemed Tim Sherwood's best. If you get between 2 and 4, you are deemed Shamak's hair gel. And if you get more than 4, you are deemed Harry Redknapp's Range Rover. So it's all to play for.
Okay.
We really should have discussed this before.
Those things. Oh, but go on, hit me. Go on, hit me with it. Let's go.
We should have discussed this before you let me loose with the top of my head of the prizes, because
that's a very awkward prize. I think it goes a bit too extreme based on the point scoring system. But hit me with it. Let's go.
Okay. So first up is Manchester City. So this one you get a free hit. You just have a guess of what their. It's a 3-point. Guess what their XG was this game week.
3.8.
Okay. If you got close, I would have given you a point, but it was 2.44. So
5 goals.
Here we go. And now you've got 7 other guesses. Okay. So Tottenham Hotspur. Are you going higher or lower?
I'm going lower.
You are correct. Tottenham got a score of 1.73.
Okay. 1 point. I'll take that for now.
You got 1 point. You are currently Tim Sherwood's vest. It's not called a vest. I can't think. Waistcoat. Is waistcoat?
That's Destiny.
Yeah, the vest of Destiny. That's even better. Next up is Brighton. Are you going higher or lower?
Well, Tottenham was 1.7, right?
1.73 for Tottenham.
Right. I'm going lower.
You're a fool. You should have stuck with the SG gods. XG gods. Brighton got a score of 1.78. So they beat Tottenham. So therefore, you still only have.
They beat Tottenham by how much?
0.05.
Oh my god, that is ridiculous. Okay,
So
I'm back to 0.
No, you just have 1 point because of the one correct answer. You are still Tim Sherwood's best. Chelsea.
Maybe that's where I want to be.
Right, next up. So Brighton is 1.78. Chelsea, higher or lower?
Higher. Must be. Higher.
Chelsea, they were higher. They got the highest XG of the game week. I don't know why I told you that, because that makes the answer for the next one pretty fucking obvious. But here we are. They got 3.64 XG, which is immense. So you've got 2 points. Next up is Everton. So I don't know if you really want to quickly guess this one, because it's quite obvious because I gave that one away.
But yeah, okay, but let me guess the XGs to have something to play for then.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
I'm going for an XG of 1.45.
It's not close enough for an extra point. They got 1.86. You know, yeah.
How close do I need to be?
I don't know. It just depends. It's finger in the air stuff at this moment in time.
That finger's never going to be big enough. Then.
So Everton with 1.86, you still have 2 points or 3. I think you have 3 because you got 2. Okay, so you're still in Tim Sherwood's land. Liverpool, are you going higher or lower than 1.86?
I'm going higher.
You are correct. You are on 3
Oh,
points. Liverpool got a
gosh.
grand total of 2.64.
I'm Schmack's hair gel. Right.
If
I could
you
do
are
myself.
Shamak's hair gel, which it might sound disrespectful the first time you're hearing it, but he does use hair gel. I
All
wouldn't
right.
recommend it personally, but
It's a style. It's a
it's
style.
so Liverpool 2.64. Higher or lower? Manchester United.
Lower.
You are correct. They were lower. They scored a 2.26, which,
It's
considering it was the draw with Southampton at 1-1, it's not bad. Not bad.
easy work. Easy work. Go on, give me the next one.
And the last team is, so this is for 5 points. So that you could end up being Harry Redknapp's Range Rover, which includes some of Harry Redknapp's wife's jam roly poly.
Okay. You send it to me next day delivery, right? If I get this one.
Oh, absolutely. Along with my bank details. Aston Villa. Are you going higher or lower?
I have memory of a goldfish. Who was the previous?
Manchester United with 2.26.
I'm going higher.
They were lower. They got an XG
Oh,
of 1.18.
oh, Carl, I can't get it right with Aston Villa at all.
Yeah, he's going to think. So, for those of you who don't know, we have Carl, who's our resident Aston Villa fan, and like we talk to him all the time. And Carl is essentially going to think that Gary hates Aston Villa. He has like a vendetta, a secret vendetta.
I went with Aston Villa this time. I thought they had a bigger XG, but it didn't happen my way.
But that was it. That is 2 XG or not 2 XG. Gary, what did you think of that?
I'm excited. I got Shamak's hair gel. I really wish I got Harry Redknapp's Range Rover. Would I've get into ridden it for a day, or just I got it straight up?
No, I would have purchased it for you, and I would
Okay.
have sent it over to you. So it's unfortunate for you. But if you enjoyed that game, do let us know.
We'll keep
And,
playing it.
and
Okay.
if you did well, let us know what points you got.
Also, final segment is goal of the week time. Right, there's quite a few good goals this weekend. But Alex, who was your goal of the week?
I think we're gonna have the same one for this one. A close second was Rafinha with his goal for Leeds. It's a very, very fine finish. But goal of the week, and Gary, the reason why Aston Villa's XG probably wasn't that high,
Oh yeah.
is that was probably below like kind of 0.1. But it's Danny Ings and that overhead kick. That was a fantastic finish. And the thing with overhead kicks, right? I'm a bit of an overhead kick prick. I don't know.
Merchant.
I don't know what the word is other than the word which I probably shouldn't say. But did you say merchant?
Yeah.
No, that I'm definitely not. No, but I'm a harsh critic of overhead kicks. So like Wayne Rooney's overhead kick against Manchester City.
Well, because it hit the shin.
Yeah, it hit the shin, and I believe like kind of it could have gone.
Jesus.
It could have gone anywhere. Like Danny Ings one to me is better because it come off his boot, so he 100% meant it. Whereas Rooney just could have gone anywhere. Call me.
Well, he meant to score.
Wait, so what? So Grealish should get points for like kind of his goal, like kind of what a great finish that was because he
No,
meant to.
because they actually just hit his knee. But Wayne Rooney, he meant to do the bicycle kick. He meant to try and get contact with it, and he meant to score.
No, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. We're gonna move on. Ings with goal of the week. For me, it was a fantastic finish and the best overhead kick I've ever seen, especially better than Rooney's.
Yeah, I've got the same. I mean, I think when there's a bicycle kick on offer, you gotta have to take it, unless it's like a scorpion kick as another option. But bicycle kicks do not come at all around often. But I got some honorable mentions. I really liked Shane Duffy's goal. I mean, like a header, anything that hits perfectly the corner between the post and the crossbar. That is always such a beautiful goal to see.
Do you know what I thought about that? I really sat there and I watched that goal loads of times. I was like, I don't know, it's just Maybe it's because it
It's
weren't going.
mesmerizing, isn't it? When it hits the corner, I don't. It's just beautiful to see.
It was an amazing finish, but I don't know. I don't know whether or not it's because it like kind of it wasn't going that quick, maybe. But I was just like, oh, I'm just not going to mention it. Maybe I should have had it in my honourable mentions.
I just like seeing it going off the corner. And then Reece James, Thunderbolt versus Arsenal. You love to see a right back that's charging up forward. It's very, very Brazil-like. That was an absolute rocket. So, but bicycle kick when it's on offer, I always think he's got to take it. He's got to take it. So that is our goal of the week. Goal of the week, and that is probably it for this week. We've run quite long on today's podcast, but give us a like, give us a comment on who you think the goal of the week is. Let us know what you think around the topics that we discussed today, and give us a like, give us a subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week.